The moment's near, your voice is loud, it's crystal clear. Kiwi dreams and hopes collide. Choose the ones who'll stand with pride. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. The future's written in your hand. A chance to guide and take a stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. In total we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. Fusion in your hand, a chance to guide and take a stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. In this moment, powers redefined. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor in line. Together we shape this land divine.
Okay, good evening everybody tonight. Okay, good evening everybody. Tonight, these candidates here are vying to become the next regional councillors for the Awa Kairangi Lower Hutt Constituency of the Greater Wellington Regional Council. But with every election, there's one thing stepping in their way, and that's your vote. And good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's It's in the Ballot show. And I better put that background on there because we haven't quite got hard-hitting questions yet. So tonight we get the Te Awa, was it? God, I'm going to sit there and I should know. Te Awa Kairangi Kitai Lower Hutt Constituency for the Greater Wellington Regional Council, where there are free positions available, and we've got a full house worth of candidates both here in studio and coming in remote. So let's kick off first with Quentin for his opening statements of why he should get the first preference vote.
Thank you, Sam. Good evening, everyone, on this cold night. My name's Quentin Duthie. Lower Hutt elected me in 2022 to be a Greater Wellington Regional Councillor, and my priorities at the time were to improve our public transport, to prepare our region for the effects of climate change, to clean up water pollution, and to bring back nature to our cities and region. We have made good progress on all these things. They've been my focus in council. We have Riverlink underway, improving flood protection. We have the highest bus patronage ever in the last financial year. And we have done the most pest control and the most nature restoration for a long time. So I also brought a community can-do attitude and have been as proactive and accessible to the community, and I would love to have another 3 years to serve Lower Hutt. Kia ora.
Okay, next up, Matt.
Kia ora, my name's Matt Shand. I'm a former investigative journalist and I've sat in the back of a lot of council meetings, and I really wanted to see how things would operate on the other side of the table. I really do think that we're facing an apathy problem when it comes to local governments, local councils in general, and I feel like we need to change the way we think about them. I'd like to sort of bring that fourth estate model and that idea of more than just transparency but openness from the council. See if we can do things a little bit differently to try and engage the public, to allow them to understand the decisions that are made, and hopefully come along on the journey that the challenges that council faces, and there are many, from encroaching climate change to public transport situations. I think that if we work together and strive to make everything as open as possible, we can bring a bit more faith back to the community, and I'd like to sort of help herald that in. So thanks for listening.
Okay, next up, Nigel.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's great to be here. My name is Nigel Elder. I'm standing for Regional Council under the Act Local Mandate. Local and regional government is clearly broken, and anyone who accepts that a 50+% increase in rates over the last 3 years is acceptable is thinking otherwise. Now, I've loved living in Lower Hutt for the last decade plus, but to see my rates go from $4,000 to $6,000 a year is really disconcerting. So what do we need? We need lower rates and we need real change, and that is the Act mandate. I'm going to be campaigning on 3 key pillars. First is fiscal constraint. We need to get costs back under control. Second is consolidation of council services. We have far too much duplication across the local and regional councils in the area. The third is innovation and accountability. We need to do things smarter. We need to do things more transparently. Now, I've spent part of my life working in the military as an army officer. I've worked in private business, and I've lived in all the different parts of the region. I've got a good grasp of the challenges, and I'm ready to offer leadership.
Perfect timing. Next up, Omar.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Omar Farouk, and I have been living in Lower Hutt for the last 20 plus years. So I have been encouraged by the community elders, local leaders, seniors, and neighbors to stand for the greater well-being of the Lower Hutt people. I have been involved in community service. I have been involved in community work, and I did volunteer my time with Conservation New Zealand, planting 20,000 trees. And also I am an actor, model, and a photographer, very well known to the community. My key policy focus is a new Cross Valley capital connection through Wellington Eastern Suburb and Super City Wellington. And my policies are, I will do a full rates review for the Lower Hutt residents, living ways for all employees and contractors for the Greater Wellington Regional Council. Because what happened to support families facing cost of living crisis, we are keys facing a worst cost of living crisis and economic downturn since 1991 due to low productivity
We'll
and
need to wrap it
policy
up. You've
missteps.
gone over a minute.
So zero waste, I support predator-free Wellington Regional Council and review of water policy for revenue integrity, because 45% of our treated drinking water is being lost.
Yeah,
due to
we've gone
erosing water
over a minute.
infrastructure.
We need to wrap that up.
And I would support 20 years regional council infrastructure development plan. So these are the one that I think.
Well, I've said it for the third time now. We've gone over the minute.
Thank you.
So we need to wrap it up. A 1 minute opening statement. Yeah. Okay, Gabrielle.
Kia ora, I'm standing to bring a strong local voice to Greater Wellington Regional Council, backed by my time as a Hutt City Councillor, Wainuiomata Community Board Chair and a Whaitua Committee member with which I helped to shape our regional water strategy. In 2019, I made a stand with our community boards to oppose consent for commercial water bottling from the Waifetu aquifer. It highlighted concerns around water sustainability, security, and the greater need for transparency to residents. That's why I'm making this stand. I want to bring my proven experience, unwavering integrity and commitment to care for our environment and our people. We need more reliable public transport, we do know that. Climate resilience is a priority more than ever, and a connected region in terms of our economy. So vote for a clean, connected and Greater Wellington, vote Tupou. Kia ora.
Okay, we've got Tom, who's coming in remotely.
Hi everybody, kia ora koutou. My name is Tom Murphy. Since I returned home 6 years ago, I've been making numerous suggestions to council on how things might be done better. Things like the first suggestion for transit-oriented development at Woburn and Waterloo train stations, that's putting apartments above the park and ride at those stations, and making Tanainai efficient, as energy efficient as possible, to reduce the long-term running costs. Both of these are being implemented. But as they say, if you want anything done, you need to get in there, do the hard way, find passionate people, and find a way to get stuff done. So rather than working from the sidelines, with your vote, I'd like to get stuck in and bring everyone's clever and creative ideas to council. I'm honored to get your vote. Thanks.
Okay, and Mike, your opening statement, please.
Thank you. Good evening. My name's Mike Fisher. I'm a born and bred Wellingtonian, and I've lived in Petone for the last 25 years. My background spans the public, private and NGO sectors, and currently I'm a serving JP. This gives me a deep understanding of the day-to-day concerns of residents and the wider community. I would bring to Regional Council my local body experience and governance skills from my current role as Chair of the Petone Community Board, where I've also been the Deputy Chair and a member for a number of years. I have key existing relationships with the Hutt City Council and other officials in the region. I'm set to go. To me, working in a collegial way, irrespective of personal politics, for the betterment of the region is vital. My commitment, if elected, is to be informed and listen, to be of service, to work to restore confidence and faith in our local authorities. And I ask for your vote. Mike Fisher, number 1. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, candidates, for the opening statements. So let's get to the fun part of where we get to the box questions. Now, we're a little bit short on crew here, so I'm playing both the role of Selwyn Turgood and Tenika Kabushia, all from the nice place of the host desk. So we've got a lovely form here of box numbers. So we'll still be picking box numbers, and we'll be tracking it from the box. So each candidate, before they sit down there and get ready for the show, each candidate has 2 button cards, which they can use if another candidate gets a question they want to answer. They also get 1 defer card, the card that we typically try to have them avoid using, and where they can give the candidate give the question to another candidate if they don't want to sit there and answer it. Each question is limited to 1 minute, and as you'll hear, you'll see with the countdown clock on the TV there, when it's going at 15 seconds, it will ring a bell, and at when the time's up, it will do a nice big ding that everyone will sit there and hear. Okay, and let's kick off with Tom. You get to pick the first box number. You can choose between number 1 and number 28.
Number 7, please.
Number 7. That's a great number. That's the number of candidates participating in tonight's show.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, and we've got, was it question AA? I've got the right one on there? Yes, I have to. Sorry, it's always paranoia about when you load the graphics and get them wrong. What council committee would you prefer to be on if elected?
I think, given my background is in integrated environmental solutions, so either the climate committee or the environment committee, because I think there's so much that we can be doing. In particular, electrifying as much as possible as we can with Netlink. So if we look at a way to bring in more generating renewable energy on council land and buildings, especially at the bus depots, it's a great way of actually using this to generate revenue and to providing the electricity for our own electric buses and trains. And what I'd also like to take a look at is, with renewable energy in particular, I think that's the focus of these two committees, is we should be putting another example on Centreport, the reclaimed land out at Kaifara for 40 years. So why don't we put a solar park over that? And why not have solar over all the parking areas in all of our parks, generating renewable electricity, and it keeps you dry. So, and it's going to be powering our buses and trains. So that will help to bring our rates rises down, because we're starting to change away from fossil fuels to renewable energy. Thanks.
Gabrielle, what box number?
Well, the voting papers come out on the, is it 8th or 9th of September?
9th.
9th of September, so let's go with number 9.
Number 9, I like that logic. Okay, we've got F for Foxtrot. Okay. There has been much media coverage about candidates' behaviour towards their fellow candidates, and I'll make this point across the country. What are your personal values that make you a suitable candidate to be a councillor?
Kia ora, Sam. I think that there's no room for personal agenda in terms of being on the campaign trail. I think we should focus on playing the ball, not the player. So focusing on policies and positions rather than personal attacks. And that's really rooted in my upbringing, my background and my values, which comprise of manaakitanga. So manaakitanga is to show care and hospitality to whomever I come into contact with. And whanaungatanga, which is to build those relationships within the community and to value the people that we engage with. And of course, I think kotahitanga is about unity. That's really what I'm standing on this election. So kotahitanga is about bringing together the differences and the ideas that make up the rich tapestry that we are. Kia ora.
Okay, next up, Matt. What box number?
Number 1.
Number 1. Also a very valuable number in STV. If you don't put number 1 in your ballot paper, the rest of your transfers don't count. And we've got L for Lima. Do you support political party endorsements of local government candidates?
No.
Short, sharp and sweet. Quinton, what box number?
12, please.
12. Okay, we've got E for Echo. What is your position on the use of 1080 in the Greater Wellington region for pest control?
Thank you for the question. Well, just last Friday, there was a very successful 1080 aerial operation in the Wainuiomata water collection area. And that it controls the possum numbers that degrade the forest there. The importance of keeping that clean is that that's our drinking water. This is where we need the highest quality catchment for the rain to fall and collect through to the treatment plant. And the more degraded that catchment is, the more treatment and therefore the more costly it is to produce bulk water. Beyond that, Greater Wellington also has a responsibility for biodiversity. and the thriving of and restoration of wildlife across the region, and aerial poison is part of the tools that we must use. I used to work for the Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, who did an independent investigation into the use of aerial 1080, and she found that it was not just safe and effective, that it was so safe and effective we should use more of it. Kia ora.
Okay, Nigel, what box number? 28. Okay. We got A for Alpha. What political party are you linked to?
I'm linked to ACT Local. As many of you will have seen, the ACT national leader, David Seymour, announced a few months back that ACT were going to get involved at the local level. Partly because local government has to some degree been hijacked by the Greens and Labour, and there isn't really much representation to the centre or centre-right side of politics. So good to have some options there for voters. Also because ACT's overall policy of freedom and fairness, smaller government, more fiscal restraint aligns with my personal values. As I said in my introductory comments, rates have gone up ridiculously. We need to do something to get them under control, and I think the ACT values and policies can go a long way to achieving that.
Okay, Mike, what box number? 23. 23. It's always fun to get a card out. Y for Yankee. What is your understanding of invisible and visible disabilities, and what are you going to do for the disability community of Lower Hutt from a Greater Wellington regional perspective?
Part of my work in the NGO sector was for disability organisations on the employment side, so I'm well aware of the wide range of disabilities that are present in the community, some of which are invisible. They're not obvious. A person is not necessarily in a wheelchair, is not necessarily obvious that they're blind, and they're hidden. But they face a number of barriers getting around and just having day-to-day life. It's important that the facilities that Greater Wellington is responsible for, likewise any councils, are available for everyone to use, be that pathways, disabled toilets, signage, as much as we can do to include everyone in the community and have the same access to facilities that able-bodied people are able to use. So it needs a great deal of education, and I'm fully supportive of anything we can do.
Yeah. Omar, what box number? 8. Okay. We got V for violin. If you are elected as councillor, will you decelerate council spending on unwanted grand projects and concentrate on vital necessary infrastructure such as roading? Not applicable directly in this situation, but maybe we could say public transport when it is an essential.
Okay, this is very important to me, to not to spend money on unwanted luxuries. The taxpayers' money is very important. So, like, I have heard that someone from the council were visiting overseas and was staying in a $900 a night hotel. So we, as a councillor, we won't spend that much money because we have our disability people and the cost of living crisis and lots of other things like mental health. We would spend money into it. Thank you.
Okay, so we've got 7 questions down, and let's get for another round on a new order on the random order list sheet. Gabrielle, what box number?
Let's go with 25,
25.
2025.
Oh God, that's a good one. I usually think of that as the year the was it age excess comes off of your car insurance. Okay, we got R for Romeo. Sorry, I'll read the graphic off the screen. Do you support central government introducing rate caps onto local authority, and why?
No, because it means that central government is dictating the program and the aspirations of local communities. And the rates issue that some of my fellow candidates have mentioned here will not stay the way it is. Now that we've just today, Hutt City Council supported through a unanimous vote the plans for our Metro Water entity. And so that means that some of the rates that we've had to spend due to the government throwing three waters out of the window, which has increased our rates, will be offset by this new system. So I think we need to allow local communities to navigate themselves how they will reduce rates through some of the cuts that colleagues have mentioned this evening. You know, let's prioritise getting the basics right and forego those fancy projects that are not priorities in terms of our households. Kia ora.
Okay, Mike, what box number? 20. Go for 20. Okay, we got I for India. How can the regional council improve collaborations with local authorities and central government to strengthen civil defence systems and ensure a more resilient regional response to emergencies?
Key factor for the Wellington region, for all sorts of reasons, earthquakes, storms, etc. Wellington Regional Council has very effective emergency management and civil defence systems, and all councils are quite integrated with it. But it's something that is perhaps slips under the radar until an emergency happens. So we must make sure that funding for areas like that is not an area where funding is cut. It would be an essential service. It's important that we liaise with central government. We've seen examples with Nelson Tasman and the flooding, where the interaction between local and central government was vital to get services and assistance to the people that needed it on the ground. So that collaboration and effective working together is essential in that area.
Okay, Omar, what box number?
13.
13? Okay, W for whiskey. How will you restore confidence with ratepayers in the region?
Sam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, you have skipped Tom a couple of times now with the boxes. Can you please give Tom a chance to pick a box?
Yep, W for whiskey.
Tom.
Oh, Tom. Oh,
Is that, sorry, is W for me? Or
I don't know. I've had 10 questions.
I'm, could you read the question again? Sorry.
Okay. How will you restore confidence with ratepayers in the region?
Communication and leadership. Consistently saying what the rates are actually going towards. You'll hear this from me over and over again, and I mentioned it before. Electrifying is the more financially responsible, and we get all the environmental benefits. If we electrify Metlink and council adds solar, it's going to help keep rate rises down. Fundamentally, any system where the fuel is free has better economics. The capital markets are happy to invest in smarter economic solutions, and we can tap into that. It's very profound and very powerful, but this is a great opportunity that lies within these many problems. So if we put in solar panels, they pay themselves off within 5 to 7 years, then we're getting almost free electricity for the next 20 to 25 years. That's a no-brainer. So let's get out there and communicate this kind of proactive forward-looking solutions to fixing the problems and letting the ratepayers know that we're doing our best to look for alternate solutions, bringing in new sources of revenue, finding ways to cut down our costs, and again, keeping rate rises down for our ratepayers.
Just a question, Sam,
Yeah,
if I may intervene. Was that Tom's turn or was it?
I
Omar's
believe it was
turn?
Omar's. I don't know what happened there.
Well, because I think perhaps maybe he can forego one of his button cards.
I don't know. No, I think there was an issue.
I heard there was a voice in the background that said, "Tom, this is your question." So sorry.
Which was incorrect. Laura, okay, so and I want to go back to where, as I said, that's why I looked very confused, because it was like, I just counted all the numbers, and I came to the number that it should have been, not, that's why I was a little bit stumped by that. So we'll go back to Omar where it was meant to be. Choose another box number and we'll restart that one again. 15. Okay, we got M for Mike. Wellington has a goal to cut our annual carbon pollution by 57% by 2030. What is the single biggest action you could take to halve the city, or should we say the region's emissions in the next 5 years?
I think I would support low carbon emission vehicle, promoting more public transport, building more transport network, and more low carbon emission buses on the street, bikes, and safe walkways. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Just wanted to check over a few things. Matt, what box number?
Red 6.
6. Okay, we've got H for hotel. Now, I think the better word could be as constituencies instead of wards, but I've found the councillors who do the most for me are in wards, or should we say constituencies, I cannot vote for, as they are standing in other wards or constituencies. Should we abolish wards or constituencies and make all councillors elected at large like Upper Hutt?
I think wards are important to keep councillors focused. I think that goes some way to ensure that the local issues do rise through, and it gives a bit more of a direction for the councillors to get out and get involved in the communities. It also sort of stops a bit of that central government bleed coming in, that you have to sort of get to know the communities and understand what's going on. So no, I think we should maintain wards, including multi-wards.
And we've got our first button for the night from Nigel.
Yeah, I want to reinforce the importance of local representation. It's inevitable that we're going to have some sort of amalgamation or consolidation and eventually perhaps a super city. And if we lose that local representation, then people will no longer have a voice. So let's make sure we do keep the wards as a feature of regional and local government.
And as goes with tradition, whenever there's a button, the next person's up, ironically, as the person who's just given one. Nigel, what box number?
Let's go to 12.
Unfortunately, that's already gone. Would you like 11 or 14? 11. Okay, we got D for dinosaur. What is your plan to address the issues with Wellington's water infrastructure?
Well, I've spent a fair chunk of today reading about Metro Water and the future of water in the region, and it looks like a lot of those plans are already in place. I'm actually very nervous about the construct of Metro Water, the fact that it's going to be starting off with a $2.6 billion deficit that the members of that entity will have to front up with. Wellington Water hasn't exactly been a screaming success, so I'm just very nervous about the future of Metro Water. We need to make sure that the regional council, as potentially the governing body of Metro Water, has controls and measures in place to ensure we have discipline, to ensure we don't have cost overruns, and to ensure we don't get ratepayers that end up with a massive water bill in the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay, Quentin, what box number?
Number 2, please.
Number
An important
2.
number in an STV vote. Not just your number 1, but your number 2 is important too.
So certainly right. It's very vital part to it. We got T for Tango. What do you see as the main difference between Māori landowners and hapu in the terms of their relationship with GWRC?
So I'm not sure exactly where this question is coming from, but I guess I would describe Greater Wellington as a regional council there to represent all residents and ratepayers of the region, including all landowners and including all Māori landowners. But we also have a role under the Te Tiriti o Waitangi to work closely with the mana whenua of the region. There are 6 mana whenua in the Wellington region, and the regional council has a strong partnership style relationship with those iwi who are of this place, as well as representing the interests of Māori generally and all ratepayers and residents. And I'll also just have to apologise that I need to leave now for a community board meeting. That was a prior commitment. So thank you for participating and for hosting and holding this event tonight. And sorry, I have to leave early.
It's completely understandable. We can't control when the community board meetings kick off. Thank you,
You
Quentin,
don't get
for
hit with the tough
coming.
questions.
Thank you for coming in for the first half an hour. Okay, now it's time for me to go back and change the way redo the number order sheet. So bear with me while I go for and remove one name. Okay, Gabrielle, you get to go first. What box number?
Is 11 available?
No, unfortunately not. We do have 10.
Let's go with 10.
Okay, we got Q for Quentin. I would have said Quebec, but I think that's a better one to go with. What budget line item would you remove to help bring rates down in Greater Wellington without disrupting services?
That's a very good question. And having not looked at the existing budget, I'm reflecting on what would the community be willing to sacrifice. And I think, as mentioned already this evening, Wellington Metro Water, and that new program resolves some of the excess in terms of the rates rise that goes on to the majority of our rates go onto water. So I think if we look at what services do we want to cut in terms of public transport, or in terms of the business program helping economic growth, that's something that we would have to go, as Omar mentioned, line by line. Once elected, we need to look at the budget we inherit and then move forward from there.
And we have a button from Matt.
Yes, I think when it comes to this thing, you have to recognise that it's an ecosystem. It's sometimes hard to cut from one thing without knowing the flow-on effects of it. I do think that there are some areas, though, for example, if we were able to put the public interest test at a much higher rate, there is potential to remove some of the unnecessary processes in regards to actually getting information out, like the legalese and the reading and going through the official information at request. If we just make the public interest test a lot higher, there are potential savings in there that could allow for efficiencies from all of those departments in other areas. And that shouldn't have a flow-on effect to vital services because it's sort of a backroom change. And also will help bring a bit of faith back to the community as well, just that simple act. So that's something I would recommend as a starting point.
Okay, Nigel, what box number? 14. Okay, G for golf. Greater Wellington ratepayers have had rate hikes imposed on them of well over 30% in the in 2 years. Given this, what level of annual rate hikes do you think ratepayers can sustain, if any, over the coming 3 years?
Well, given that we're coming off the back of a 50% increase over the last 3 years, any future increases are going to have to be a lot lower than that. I would really like to see increases inflation adjusted, so they're not necessarily capped, as we discussed a few moments ago, but they're directly correlated to the inflation rate. Otherwise, ratepayers are going to lose all confidence in local governments, apart from being unsustainable. You know, whose income has gone up 50% in the last 3 years? Not many people I know. So let's make sure that any increases in the rates, so the coming 3 years, are inflation related, directly correlated to cost of living increases and income increases.
Okay, Tom, what box number would you like?
I can't do a button. Can I do a quick button?
Yeah, do a button first. Yeah, we'll do the button first, and then we'll get to a box number. What?
Yeah, just responding to what Nigel was saying. I understand what he's trying to say, but my worry is you're talking about a general level of inflation, and linking how much your food is rising really has nothing to do with the services that the Greater Wellington Regional Council are providing. So I understand we want to bring it down as much as possible. Let's find ways to bring the revenue streams to bring that down. Plus, linking it to inflation, I think it's not quite as relevant to what Greater Wellington Regional Council does. So that's all. Thanks. Number 2.
Number
16, please.
16. Oh, yes, the good old driver's license age for people these days, even though I think many of us here in the room probably got it at 15. Okay, got you for uniform. As a councillor, how would you work collaboratively with your fellow councillors to deliver on your promises?
I think it's a combination. It's sitting around a table and discussing. We all have a lot of things in common. We may not all come at it the same way, but if we sit down and talk collaboratively with each other, understand what people see as their issues as to why they might be pushing back against something, that opens up the vision for everybody to come together to find a common solution. But I'd like to try and do a combination of getting councillors together and let's get out and about and go actually into the community and be meeting with the residents and find out what their issues are, have them come together and bring in possible solutions for us that both we as councillors can see this is what the residents want. Let's find a way we can work with them and each other. So, thanks.
Okay. Matt, what box number? 3. Go for 3. Another important vote for NSTV. Okay. B for Bravo. Do you think political parties at GWRC should come before the Greater Wellington and its ratepayers? Yes or no, and why not?
I think I've already answered it. No, I don't think central government should get too involved in local government at all. It's just that they should focus on running the country and we can focus on running the communities.
Omar, what box number? 6. No, that's been taken. We got 4 or 5. 5. Okay, we got Z for Sulu. Could Greater Wellington Regional Council be more open with its information and meeting access? If so, how?
Thank you for asking me this question. I think the Greater Wellington Regional Council is committed to operate under the framework of the Local Government Official Information and Meeting Act 1987. Meetings are open for public participation and anyone would be request information from the council under that act or the Privacy Act would be welcomed. So anyone can actually participate into a meeting and then asking questions. So there is a greater transparency I would support. Thank you.
And we have a button from Matt, followed by a button from Mike.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's true of every government department, not just so that the public can understand what is going on, but the amount of wasted time putting black markers on things that really just should be known. It's an absolute backroom, just waste of time. I think that we need to really think differently about how that information comes out. As someone who's tried to get it, and access to it and had it blocked, and then to go through a legal process just to have it reviewed, it costs fortunes to councils to fight these things, when actually the easiest answer is just to provide the information in the first place, because we've all paid for it. And I really think that anything that can enhance that needs to be done. And that's why we're facing this big apathy epidemic when it comes to councils, because we don't know what's going on.
Mike?
Yeah, definitely there's a need for a bit of communications, an easier website to navigate, an easier way of finding information about meetings and their minutes, with open briefings and access for the public to go along and listen in. The Hutt City Council is a good example of where all of those things happen. And I think that the Regional Council needs to lift its game in that area, because for majority of people, when they're trying to find things on the Regional Council website, it's a bit of a minefield, and it really needs to improve. I think we need to be, or they need to be, far more open, and the communication from regional councillors going out to their constituents can be improved as well. So the whole gamut of the communication needs to improve.
Do I have any more possible inputs, or have I run out of cards?
Yeah, Chuck, yeah, we can chuck in a button.
Okay. I agree 225% with what Mike said. The website I was searching on yesterday for one of the Transport Committee meetings, and it's impenetrable. So I'd like to find a way to make that much easier. That's, the information is easier to find. But also, if you go down and read some of the minutes, I think I'd like to see, can we bring more plain English into how we write minutes? These impenetrable, great big long things. Let's have a nice, simple executive summary. Let's find a way to make this information more accessible, that people don't have to read 27 pages of legalese to understand what's going on. So thanks again.
Okay, Mike, what box number?
You still have number 9?
No, I don't. I've got 4 and I've got 17.
Let's go for 4.
Pesky card. P for Papa. The government and Taxpayers Union have been accusing councils of being irresponsible with large percentage rates increases. What's your view?
That's one of these questions where no matter what you say, you're going to upset someone. There's always going to be people that say, yes, the rates increases are far too high, and conversely, well, okay, what's going to be cut? Obviously, we can all pick projects that might be deemed as luxuries, or certainly not warranted at the time. I do think that there are rates increases around the country that could be reduced. We've heard from others in response to questions about rates capping as to whether that's the way to handle it. My view is stick to the cost of living increases, reduce expenditure in all the areas that are feasible and reasonable, where you're not cutting basic services that everyone would expect in their community. I'm sure there's some projects that can be deferred, but again, it's one of those tricky questions where you're never going to please every side of the argument.
Okay, so we've got a button from Nigel.
I'm also going to put forward here that we actually need leaner governments. Regional Council has 600 employees. 600, what do they all do? That is a huge headcount. We've got a CEO who earns more than the PM. Does he have more responsibility than the PM? Does he justify a $500,000 salary? We've got 24 people who earn more than $200,000 in the Regional Council. Again, is that value for money? There's an executive team, the executive leadership team, all on around $300,000 each. So there's big bucks being paid out and not a lot being delivered for it. So we need to start looking at leaner regional government. And I'll come back to the point I made earlier about starting to consolidate and share services with the other local government councils. I counted up, there's something like 120 people working on communication and marketing across the region. 120 people all doing essentially the same thing. So let's start looking at sharing those services, cutting back on the actual numbers of people duplicating services, and have leaner local government.
And with every tradition, oh no, we've got another button. Okay, that tradition's gone out the window. Gabrielle.
Kia ora. I think we need a little bit of reminding of why we have such dramatic rate increases. Now, the Department of Internal Affairs, last local election, determined that if we had not proceeded with the Three Waters program, our rates would increase from between $1,900 to $9,000 per year. And colleagues have mentioned this evening that that's exactly what's happened. So we are in the mess we're in. We've worked hard, our officers have worked hard towards the Metro Wellington, which will resolve that water issue, but only by some degree. You've heard that there's still a hole there of a couple of $1 billion. So, these decisions at the central government level have affected greatly the irresponsible rate increases, so-called, that have cost you, the ratepayer. We need to remember this next year at the general election, and remember where the blame sits. Kia ora.
Okay, and another button from Omar.
So what actually happening is the rates increase and the economic situation. We need to consider that what is the right time to increase the rate. Is this the right time when everyone is facing the cost of living crisis? And I read actually about the Metro Water that was a sort of reform that most money is going into the pocket of those executives and new committees and new board of directors, while our water reform, the leaky pipes are not fixed. There is no commitment that what is going to happen into the next 10 years. So the most of the money actually is going into the pockets, not into the infrastructure development. And there is a GDP. GDP was actually 2.2%. Thank you.
Okay, so we've finished that round and we've got a new list order. Nigel, you get to go up first. What box number?
17.
Yes, 17's free. Pretty much, was it the lowest you can go now? Okay, M for November. Given the benefits of a more connected regional transport network, how can governance structures support the integration of passenger rail between Horizons and Greater Wellington Regional Council, and what steps are needed to ensure an equitable funding, accountability and service delivery across both regions?
Well, I think this one is pretty straightforward. It's really just a matter of connecting the trains and the buses so people have integrated transport systems. I did see there's a budget item in the regional council budget of 48 million for development of this. Now, I'm wondering why does it cost 48 million to develop a piece of software for the snapper card that allows you to get off the train and onto a bus and swipe? It seems somewhat excessive. So I think really it's a pretty simple software solution to actually be able to go from one bus to a train and then back again.
This one's is about inter-regional trains.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, if you get off the train from Palmerston North and then onto a bus in Wellington to go to Courtney Place,
yeah,
it shouldn't be that hard, should it?
No. Oh
So
no,
it's a
that part
software
shouldn't
patch.
be. Oh, it's not about software. That one is about the growth of the connection between the two services, because it'll be the first service that will cross regional council boundaries, because Horizons is punts north of GW's
It
Wellington.
exists in many places around the world
I
already.
know,
So,
yeah.
so why are we trying to reinvent the wheel?
That's a good point, yeah. Well, hopefully the integrated card system we're meant to be having would happen. That was meant to be delivered in 2016 and we're still waiting for it. Yeah. Mike, what box number? 18 upwards with the exception of 20, 25 and 28 and 23. Yeah, we can do 19. Okay. X for X-ray. What do you think, why do you think you are right for a role as councillor?
Well, as I mentioned in my opening statement, I can hit the ground running, to use the old cliche. I have local government experience. I know some of the key players. I've got relationships with, obviously, Hutt City Council and others. I'm experienced. I'm approachable. I've always worked in a collegial manner, so this cross-political, cross-the-divide issue is not an issue for me. That's the way I would naturally work. I'm friendly, I'm pragmatic, and I'm the sort of person that wants to be well-informed going into a meeting. I want to read my papers. I want to prepare the questions that I would like to ask officers at a meeting. That's what I'm there for, to ask those things on behalf of constituents. So I need to be well informed. So I believe I bring all those attributes to a council role.
Okay, Omar, what box number?
18.
18's already gone. I've got, oh no, 18 hasn't gone. Sorry, I misread my sheet. Okay, we got S for Sierra. What role should regional council play in developing and implementing effective flood protection measures?
Thank you for asking these questions. I think constructing stop banks, river embankment in both sides of to contain water from flooding into the community houses or to damage roading facilities, right landscaping and hard and soft engineering design would be a good combination, involving community leaders for access to land allocations for long-term planning. Thank you.
Okay, we got Matt. What box number?
I think it's dealer's choice now.
Oh, okay.
Like, what are we
21?
at? 20? Yeah, 21.
21.
Yeah.
The old voting and drinking age at one point in time. Okay, we got K for kilo. How do you plan to use deliberative democracy to ensure residents can directly contribute to the challenges our constituency faces?
Yeah, I think deliberative democracy is a great ideal, but I think we need to be honest, it's not happening. We're not getting enough consultation. We're not getting enough people around the table anymore. So we need to look at how we can do that. You can see that in a voter turnout of these elections and the fact that we were struggling to get candidates, even in some electorates, and a lot of them are running unopposed. People are starting to check out of local government. So we need to find a way to bring it back. It's going to require rethinking how we do these things. It's going to require us to go back and figure out how we can bring people along on this journey. It's more concerning. It doesn't really matter how you vote so long as people do. The fact that people aren't means that they're not feeling engaged, they're not feeling connected. And we need to find new mechanisms to allow people to engage. As I said before, opening up the books and letting people see the working, see the margins would actually probably go a long way to just bringing them along, at least as first step, at least.
Okay, Gabrielle, what box number?
17,
Long gone. It's only in the 20s now.
23,
No, that's gone. Got 22 or 24.
24.
As I say, all of them, I should say, is legal ages. Okay, J for Juliet. Spending needs to be within budget without increasing rates. What services or luxuries will you stop?
I actually felt that I've answered this question before, very similar to the previous in terms of budget line. But what I will say is this, Sam, that we have to be mindful as stewards of our region and how we allocate and spend people's rates. And so it's, you know, we've done away with a lot of those luxuries even before, over the past few cycles. So I think it's being mindful. It was mentioned, you know, some other public entities have been under scrutiny. So we need to be mindful as governors, spending wisely and acting in the best interests of our communities. So I think we have to model that as far as our capacity and governance goes.
And we have a button from Mike.
It also relates to one of the other questions earlier about, you know, where could there be cuts, etc. I noticed in the paper the other day there was a report of relating to the Golden Mile about bus stops, and Greater Wellington was contributing $6.5 million for bus shelters, and it mentioned the bus shelter at $1.2 million. The design would leave you probably freezing in this weather, or even on a normal day. I think projects like that need to be looked at. You know, is that value for money? Do we really need to spend $1.2 million to build a bus shelter? It's things like that that annoys people, whether you describe them as luxuries or services. And as Nigel mentioned before, you know, the cost of staffing at that level, these are the sorts of things that need to be looked at, and they're the sort of things that ratepayers get annoyed at when the rates bill arrives.
And last question for this round. Tom, what box number?
26 still available?
Yes, 26 is still there. Okay, C for Charlie. Do you support a new disability bathroom complex in Taranaki Street, Wellington, and would you consider bringing similar facilities to our train stations and bus hubs?
Yeah, most definitely. The only thing we have to consider is just when we put it into the budget timeline, because as I said, we want to keep the rate rises down as much as we possibly can. But, you know, this would be a fantastic thing for our disabled community. We need these kind of infrastructure put into place. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. If I can double back to what Mike was talking about before, and like paying $1.2 million for a bus shelter makes no sense to me. There's a great program that was used about 4 or 5 years ago where we went out to the community and said, what would you like to see at the rotunda down on Oriental Parade? And they just said to the world, give me your new designs and we'll pick the best one. So let's open this up and see if the community can come up with, and businesses can come up with a cheaper, better idea, so we're not spending $1.2 million on a bus shelter.
Tom, I have to ask you, are you aware of the cost of those toilets?
I know, but that's why I said you've got to look at the budget and make sure that we can actually do that. So
how does 2.3 million sound?
Yeah, it's insane. So again, let's open it up and find us a better way to do this. Is this a Trumpian gold plated toilet? I haven't seen the designs for it. So there's got to be a way more sensible way to do it than spending that amount of money on the bathroom.
Button from Gabrielle.
This week I met with Disability Advocate and the issue that our disability community face is the ability to be able to access quality toilet facilities, but also in terms of using public transport. So I would be absolutely supportive from an inclusive point of view in having disability. I mean, this is a human right. This is not a nice to have. This is an essential. And if we're concerned about budget, let's look at what is our policy or position for Greater Wellington on going to tender and getting in, putting out for contracting to locals, and finding more cost-effective quotes to build these facilities. So I think it's Blake Forbes is the name of the advocate that we met this week, and I want to thank the work of Blake and many others that have advocated for disability facilities and use of our public transport. Kia ora.
Do I get can I rebut or is my tongue with rebuts?
Sorry, say again.
Can I do a quick rebuttal or have I used my...
Make it quick. We're 4 minutes over time though.
Okay. Could we look at a containerized solution? So we build disability bathrooms off-site, but they're put inside something like inside a container, and that should bring the cost down because we're making them outside in a factory. It's a standardized design, and then we just build them in and put them in place. That should surely take the cost down, but give us a quality, a quality bathroom that disabled people will be able to use, because they can be part of helping the design of this. So, thanks.
Okay, so let's get to some quick housekeeping before we take the break. It's in the Ballot Productions is an independent non-profit organisation which is funded on small dollar donations. If you'd like to sit there and help support the platform, feel free to sit there and head on to either our Eventbrite options with the core without emissions option to help fund these It's in the Ballot shows. You can also head to our Give a Little page and put a donation on Give a Little, and if you want to get it with the least fees possible and put it straight for us the quickest way possible, you can you can put it into our bank account, which our bank account details are on our website. It's in the ballot.nz and under the donations section. So we're going to take a quick break here and we'll be back for hard-hitting questions.
Just a short little breather to stretch out your legs. You don't need a leader. The live stream will be back, so don't go too far. But for now, you can wander wherever you are. Intermissions aren't really a thing anymore, but we think they're cool, a tradition to adore. A moment to breathe, have a laugh, maybe chat. There's magic in breaks, and we're keeping that. Head to the lobby, your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Into the lobby, your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. short little breather to stretch out your legs. You don't need a leader. The live stream will be back, so don't go too far. But for now, you can wander wherever you are. Intermissions aren't really a thing anymore, but we think they're cool, a tradition to adore. A moment to breathe, have a laugh, maybe chat. There's magic in breaks, and we're keeping that. Head to the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Head to the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Head to the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime. Head to the lobby, I mean your kitchen with glee, for snacks that are tasty and drinks. Maybe 3. Fill up your plate, pour a glass, take your time, then come back refreshed. We'll resume on a dime.
Oh shit, don't panic, but it's almost time to get back to the show. The candidates have stretched their legs, been partying, taking a break. Cause there's still hard-hitting questions, closing statements and stuff you wanna know. So grab those snacks for their answers and prep for decisions you need to make. Oh, 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 oh. The candidates have stretched their leg. The candidates have stretched their legs, been partying, taking a break. Closing statements and stuff you wanna know. So grab the snack you wanna know. So grab those snacks to the answers and prep for decisions you need to make. Oh, 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 oh. stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. Together we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor align. Together we shape this land divine. Fortune in your hand, a chance to guide and take a stand. Community rising, hearts aligned. In this moment, powers redefined. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor align. Together we shape this land divine. It's in the ballot where we belong. Every vote builds a nation strong. Your council, your board, your mayor align. Together we shape this land divine.
Yeah, where's Omar? No, he'll be back. Okay, welcome back. We're still yet to get our candidates back on stage, but they'll get there. But let's get ready for hard-hitting questions, and we'll see if they magically reappear. Okay, let's get, so for hard-hitting questions, these are the questions where all candidates have to answer. And let's kick off with hard-hitting question number one. With the recent announcement that central government will pull funding from Wellington's transition to a 100% electric bus fleet by 2027, would you push to keep the original plan in place? And if so, how would you fund it? Omar, you get to go off first.
Oh, thank you for asking me these questions. I think under the Paris Climate Change Agreement, COP28, 2023, new government reiterated commitment to reduce net greenhouse gas emission by 50% by 2030. The pathway set by the government enable councils and communities of Wellington region to effectively advocate for the support in achieving the target. However, the proposed change in Resource Management Act 1991 will significantly change the shape of regional councils' power, commitment, and responsibilities. The panel's recommendations have been welcomed by government and opposition parties, so major legislative change in the next parliamentary term seems highly likely. The regional council will work with laws, regulations, and amendment passed in the parliament and implement tasks under the Government Resource Management Act. Thank you.
Okay, Nigel.
No, I wouldn't be in favour of keeping the plan going. I would scrap the electric buses or defer them until a time where they're affordable. This is very much a luxury rather than a necessity. And if we look at the target for carbon neutral emissions, that date is actually 2050. So we're trying to achieve a target 23 years ahead of the scheduled date. Now, electric buses come with a lot of baggage. They're a nice, they look good, they sound quiet, but they have these big things in them called lithium-ion batteries. Now, these have to be produced from minerals mined in Africa: nickel, cobalt, lithium, and so on. Cobalt mining typically takes place in the Congo, and there's a huge impact on the environment in the Congo. So we're trying to make the environment in New Zealand nicer, but we're just shifting that problem on someone else. There's also child labour involved. Anyone in favour of child labour to mine lithium? I don't think so. Buses are also much heavier. They do a lot of road damage. They require a lot of infrastructure, the depot for charging. So I think let's deal with the current cost of living crisis and defer electric buses till a better time.
Okay, Matt.
Yes, I think the commitment to electric buses and in fact just public transport in general needs to be continued. I think that reality is there will be a component of rates needed to do that. We need to think differently about public transport. We need to think, are there some savings we can make? Like, could we actually make savings and efficiencies if we made them free? Could we look at it more as what are we saving on building additional roads for single-use cars? Can we leverage the services in other ways? There was mentioning of vast millions being spent on ticketing systems. What if we did away with the need for a ticketing system? Would it actually be an ultimate saving in the long run? So these are just conversations we need to have to think about how we can actually fund public transport and put public back into it, I think. Thank you.
Okay, Mike.
Well, ideally, yes, we could meet that target, but there would be no harm in pushing it out if necessary. This is one of these areas we have to look at perhaps budget savings elsewhere if we were sticking to that target. Could it be transferred from other expenditure? Could we look at things like, for example, our investment in Centreport? Could that be reduced perhaps if we wanted to use finance for some other budget items? It's not essential to keep to the 2027 target, but if it was pushed out, if necessary, to get us through the lean years without more pressure on rates, I think that would be ideally the way to go.
Okay, Tom.
Yeah, I really don't. You ready? I really don't understand why central government wouldn't want to help with this transition. Every year we spend $5 to $6 billion of our overseas export earnings to import oil and gas. Wouldn't it be much better to be spending that in New Zealand by electrifying? And by electrifying, it is much cheaper. As I said earlier, after 5 to 7 years, if you've put solar panels on Rongotai bus depot, that's paid itself off and it's free electricity for the rest of the time. So I would definitely keep the same original plan in place, and I'd look to organize a financing solution instead. We could look at using the same green loan bond program that Kiwi Rail, where they got $350 million for the 2 now cancelled inter-islander ferries that was certified under the Climate Bond Initiative. That would work for this, and it would help pay it. It would definitely pay itself off. So, as I said, if we could install solar panels on bus depots and everywhere else that we can, we've paid them off 25 years worth of free electricity, and that will help to keep rate rises down because Metlink is currently taking 64% of the council's budget. So that's going to have a huge impact. But also, from a trade perspective, we have commitments under our EU trade agreement to be meeting our climate targets. So the last thing we want is to be finding that we can't ship our stuff overseas and get that export earnings that we vitally need as an economy. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Gabrielle.
As I said at the beginning, I'm standing for reliable public transport. And those of us who know, like myself being a former public servant, commuting into town every day, I know of the disruptions and the impact that has on our economy and the ability to traverse our region. So my understanding is Greater Wellington only is at 25%. We already have chipped away at electrifying our buses. If we defer it and kick the can down the road even further, that's going to have an impact on the reliability of our public transport moving forward. The trains are an issue. I'm hugely supportive of electrifying trains nationwide, but in terms of the buses, we need to get that right. We need to get them reliable. So even I think, was it yesterday, the buses were used as the backup option for our trains. So I think let's push on and keep on with the program.
Okay, let's get on to hard-hitting question number 2. How will you ensure flood protection infrastructure is upgraded to keep pace with the increasing severity of extreme weather events caused by climate change? Gabrielle.
Again, this is an essential. This is not a nice to have. Flood protection is top of the list in terms of our resilience program here in Greater Wellington. Here in Lower Hutt, Te Awa Kairangi, having to the managed retreat in terms of the riverbanks, acquiring the land necessary, rebuilding the flood stop banks, the riparian planting programs, the volunteer groups, the Friends of River groups that are putting hundreds of hours into planting and stop bank work. So I think it's important that we do keep up and we keep ahead. In fact, I think we need to step up our resilience. I understand that Greater Wellington has got a new strategy and about flood protection as far as the Hutt is concerned is top of the list. We need to keep up with it.
Okay. Nigel?
Yeah, I think this is critical. This is one of the council's core services, flood protection, and the two main areas affected are the Lower Wairapa Valley, which is largely farmland and has minimal impacts in terms of inhabitants. The valley floods, the water dissipates pretty quickly within 24 hours, so it's much more manageable. The most critical area is obviously the Hutt River, and we simply have to carry out effective modelling, predict what the the sort of 1 in 500 year water rise is going to look like, and make sure we build stop banks that are capable of dealing with that. But yes, I think maintaining very effective flood protection in the Hutt Valley is critical.
Okay, Omar.
Yeah, I think
Microphone. Yeah.
I think there is a critical factor we need to consider. The two options, a combination of two options, are structural engineering treatment, hard and soft both, and natural flood management techniques. So structural engineering treatment is soft bank, levees, barns, and gabions basket to prevent river from eroding or overflowing. And the natural flood management techniques is long-term new urban development action plan. Regional council needs collaboration with Tangata Whenua, Mana Whenua, district councils, and local councils for a coordinated flood protection insurance management plan. I recommend building 2 new water treatment plants diverting upstream storm water and flood water into large catchment facilities for community well-being, protecting forest lands for wildlife and birds. Coordinate with civil defense for advanced weather warning using cloud-based technology. Thank you.
Okay, Matt.
In the last 10, 12 years where I've worked as a journalist, I've been to about 8 1 in 100 year floods, and a couple of 1 in 500 year floods, and a couple of 1 in 250 year floods. That will happen in the last decade. The reality is we're getting beyond climate change prevention. We're getting into climate change management, and that's a scary thought. We need to have honest conversations in council and how we can protect the land that we can, but there is going to have to be some hard decisions made about where do we just factor in a managed retreat out of areas. That's the changing world that we're moving into unless we can radically make some efforts to stem the tide. Pun intended, I guess. So I think we need to have 10, 20, 25 and 50-year plans. We need to figure out the ways to make them last through election cycles and figure out how we can actually, make communities that work around the realities of climate change that is coming to bring it upon us. And we have to do whatever we can to help whoever we can left.
Okay, Tom.
Whenever we do any infrastructure work, it needs to be designed using what they call sponge city principles. That means we need to find ways to hold water in place like a sponge and then release it after the surge has passed. So if we look at Singapore, when they make a new parking garage, it's designed so that it can hold stormwater. So hopefully this is the kind of innovation that we're thinking about with Riverlink. But I'd like us really to start thinking about rainwater as a resource. If we're putting in tankage to do what they call catch and reuse of this rainwater, that actually helps reduce the amount of water that's hitting the stormwater system. But what's even better is that rainwater then becomes a resource. Residents who have rainwater tanks can use it on their gardens in summer, so you're helping to bypass the hose pipe ban. But council, I think, should also be exploring working together with businesses that have very large roofs to do this kind of catch and reuse. So imagine all the rainwater that's hitting really large roofs like the Queensgate Mall. That water could be stored in tanks and then be used to flush their toilets. So it's relieving some of the strain of water that's coming into the system. It could also be a cheaper way to get a new source of, which is also more earthquake resilient, as these tanks will be geographically dispersed around Greater Wellington. So we need to be solving multiple problems with the same dollar. Thanks.
Mike.
As you've heard, most candidates will agree that this is a huge and critical issue for the regional council, not just for the Hutt River, but also, as Nigel mentioned, Wairarapa. It may need further input from central government because this is a big issue, as I alluded to earlier, when we've seen what's happened with Nelson and Tasman and getting infrastructure in place. We've made huge progress with the Riverlink project getting underway. It's going to be massively important for the security of the Hutt Valley from floods. But moving forward in other areas, we're going to need investment. It's going to be a big ticket item. It is critical core service and would form one of those things that you cut at your peril. So yeah, I think most candidates would agree it's just so vital we keep on top of it and keep building for the future.
Okay. Sorry, I'm having to lose the train of thought here. I'm thinking, are we on to question number 3? And yes, we are. What is your position on retaining the Mana Karangi Ki Tai Māori ward for Hutt City Council and Te Upoko o Te Iki Maui Māori constituency for Greater Wellington Regional Council, and why do you hold that position? And get a new order sheet. Omar, you get to go first.
Okay, at this election,
Microphone.
Greater Wellington Regional Council will hold a binding poll of electors on whether the Maori constituency will continue for the following 2 triennial local elections. Separate Maori representation on council was set out under the Local Government Act 2002. Also, I personally think Wellington Regional Council should continue special Maori representation in council as a collaborative and participatory local government approach for social well-being. And yeah, this is, I support. Thank you.
Gabriel.
Kia ora, I'm on the public record as supporting and our Māori wards. It's a reality under our constitutional arrangement that we have Te Tiriti o Waitangi. And under Te Tiriti o Waitangi, we have certain principles. And one of those principles is partnership. Now, we have, before even considering Māori wards for local government, we have Māori seats and Māori electorates for Parliament. Now, if we go back to the time where Māori representation in Parliament was first decided, and must have been the 1850s and 60s, I can recall reading the Hansard at the time, and those who opposed Māori in Parliament said the reason was they can't read and write in English. Now, we've come a long way, and so all of those stereotypes and attitudes should not be here, but they are, and that's the reality. The greatest threat to our social cohesion is breaking that partnership.
Okay, Tom.
I believe the Maori ward should definitely be supported, and it's important to democracy to have a Maori voice around the council table. We need that viewpoint, as it will help remind us all of our intergenerational responsibility, helping us with the conservation of the natural environment and its resources. Thanks. Short and sweet.
Okay, Matt.
Yeah, I believe Māori wards are currently needed. New Zealand was founded on, it wasn't conquered, it was founded on a partnership treaty, as mentioned by my friend over here. And I stress that the purpose of having a Māori ward is to allow greater representation in council and government across all these issues. In a perfect world, we wouldn't need them because this would happen naturally. But we're currently not in that world yet. I think we need to maintain the multi-wards, and we should multi-wards and other facilities, but we need to be striving towards taking a long view of 30, 40 years and saying, can we get to a place where the representation is now equal? Is that should be the goal of this, and I feel like we need to be working towards that. But currently, the equity and equality issues are just too great to dissipate. The idea of having referendums to decide these things is nonsense because that doesn't work. Referendums do not favour minority groups and just disenfranchise people. So we need to do better, and we need to hold them up to a high standard.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, I'm also happy with the Maori wards. It will be interesting to see the outcome of the referendum. One point that I would raise is where we have the situation where we have iwi representatives on council committees that may or may not have voting rights. Now, if we have Maori wards, I do wonder whether the iwi representatives should then have voting rights as well. So we're not doubling up, if you like, on representation. Quite happy with non-voting representatives on the committees, but if we have the wards in place, I feel that is sufficient in terms of voting.
Nigel.
I would reinforce Mike's point that there should be no place for appointed as opposed to unelected people with voting rights on boards. In terms of Maori ward, well, we're going to see democracy in action. Central government has mandated there'll have to be a referendum, so there will be. So I think council needs to be ready to work with whatever the outcome of that is. If we end up with maintaining the Maori ward, that's a great thing. If the majority of the ratepayers vote against it, that's also a democratic outcome. The Local Government Act 2002 makes it quite clear that the responsibility of local government or regional council is to actively encourage Maori participation in decision making. And I think the regional council is actually doing a pretty good job of that already. There's a Maori relations team of 6 or 7 people. They're pretty active. They're engaging with the 6 iwi around Wellington. So even if the ward is perhaps disestablished, I think that good relationship will continue.
Okay. Well, we're finished with hard-hitting questions. Time to get to closing statements. Gabrielle.
Kia ora tātou. Look, I come with proven experience, unwavering integrity and compassion and care for the values that I've expressed this evening. And one of those values is kotahitanga, unity. And so that's what I will be bringing to the table, that strong local voice and representation on some of the issues we've discussed tonight. I was a civil defence volunteer as a Māori warden. I was seconded to Remo during the pandemic. And I've served in governance on myriad of boards, the Manaaki Ability Trust, the Duke of Edinburgh and Hillary Award. And so I'll bring a background of understanding both in local government and in terms of stewardship over our resources, over the aspirations and engagement with you, the community, and the ratepayers. So I'm asking for your vote for Greater Wellington. Kia ora.
Tom.
We live in an amazing area, but there's still heaps that needs to be done to make things better for everyone. Smart solutions for people and the environment have always been my passion. And one of my strengths is the ability to look at things differently. And I think that's what we need. We need approaches that deliver more benefits for lower cost rather than just doing the same old stuff over and over again. As I said before, we need to be solving multiple problems with the same dollars. My goal is to go fast and fix things. So it'd be great if you could check out my Facebook page, Tom Murphy for Greater Wellington, where I'll be posting some past and future ideas. Your #1 vote will be most appreciated because I believe we can do great things together. Cheers, and thanks to In the Ballot for hosting this event.
Omar.
Thank you. I have qualifications in applied finance and public policies, and my first job was, working in the bank, and I work in the prison environment, Ministry of Education, and some other government organizations, and I volunteered myself on the green economy, tree planting. I volunteered for leadership roles. And I think this is an opportunity for myself and everyone. I support Wellington as a super city because the super city relinquishing 8 individual local council incorporated into one super city for sustainable growth and infrastructure development for 20 years infrastructure development in terms of the sustainability. So, and I also recommend 5th and 6th water treatment plant in the Lower Hutt. Thank you.
Nigel.
There's a great quote that's often attributed to Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. If we keep doing the same thing over and over for the next 3 years, we're going to get the same result, which is another 50% rate increase. So I'm asking for your vote for some change here, to do things a little bit differently, to rationalise the way we do local government, to consolidate services, to operate in a more lean and more cost-effective mechanism. And I'll bring you back to one additional quote, which I love to utilise whenever I can. The problem with socialism, and we have had very much socialist green councils for the last few years, the problem with socialism is that you eventually run out of other people's money to spend. We've been spending the ratepayers' money as other people's money. It's time we started spending ratepayers' money as if it were our own money. We need to deal with the cost of living crisis. We need to get costs under control. We need some fiscal restraints in our ambitions over the next 3 years. And let's try and have better outcomes for all ratepayers.
Mike.
Look, thank you for this opportunity this evening. It's all about people and community when it's boiled down. And if you want an approachable, friendly, pragmatic councillor who wants to drive improvements to create more efficient and a future-proofed public transport system, if you want a councillor who wants to work to protect and enhance and promote our regional parks, and if you want a councillor who will do their darndest to help foster economic growth and support and development of our great, and I mean great, Wellington region, I want to see a council and a region that's thriving and prosperous and is on the up and go. Like we're hearing from the South Island, we're in the doldrums at the moment, so we need to cut our cloth where we can and maintain our core services and get involved and work with people and alongside people so that we can promote Wellington. That's what I want to do. I'd appreciate your vote. I'd be honoured to get your vote, number 1 or even number 2, for Greater Wellington. Thank you very much.
Okay, and Matt.
What I bring is analytical skills, critical thinking skills, investigative skills, and a way to bring community groups and to gain consensus from the community. I think this will help me collaborate with a wide group of stakeholders, and I think that skill set will be useful in council. Further, with an unshaken commitment to dragging out all the council business, bringing it out into the open and giving it back to the people, I think will make me a very strong candidate. And let's be honest, it'll probably get me in a little bit of trouble to start with as well, but we'll work through that. If you treat this as a job interview, I ask you to judge me based on those skills. You can look me up, Matt Shand. There's plenty of articles I've put together, plenty of things I've done as well. And if you think council could use those skills or use that skill set, then give me a 1. If you think the person you'd rather see at a council could utilise that skills, I'll take a 2. It's completely fine. But most importantly of all, vote. Whoever for, doesn't matter who you're voting for. Encourage your friends and others to get out there as well, because this apathy is a weapon that is used against us. And we need engagement, honesty and openness in our local councils.
Okay, so when it comes now, just the last bit of housekeeping, because because it's explaining the great things of STV, because I know Lower Hutt at a district council uses first past the post, and a regional council level uses single transferable vote. When it comes to voting for the regional council, you'll be using STV, where you'll be ranking your candidates in order of preference. In order to achieve, to get across the line to become an elected councillor, you have to achieve the quota. In this particular case, there are 3 positions available. So how to work out the quota is the total number of positions available plus 1 divided by the total number of votes, and that becomes your quota. Effectively, whoever becomes the next councillor will have to achieve at least 26% of the first preference and redistributed votes in order to cross the line. An example of what happens when you have upwards, redistribution from the top, is say if a candidate gets 1,000 votes but only needs 650 votes in order to get elected to office, they keep 0.65%, 0.65 of those votes, and the 0.35 gets redistributed to their second preferences. If the elimination comes from the bottom, which is usually when there's not enough votes to with the quota, those are full votes and potential redistributions from the top votes that get transferred over. So when it comes to voting, please make sure you don't just look at your number 1 vote, but look at your number 2s, your number 3s, and your number 4s, and so on, because second and third and fourth preference votes are going to be what's going to decide who are the 3 representatives to represent Lower Hutt on the Greater Wellington Regional Council. Now, one thing I forgot to say earlier about the budget, because I didn't actually have it on my screen properly. Today's production day cost us $238.05 in hall hire. It cost us $14 in Starlink internet connection, $31 for the restream hosting broadcast. And actually, we have 2 vehicles in the mix today, so we have an allowance for $100 we've budgeted for, but I don't think we will be anywhere near $100 a day, considering I only had to travel from Newtown. And Nick has travelled a bit closer, and also a $50 refreshment budget. So if you would like to help out It's in the Ballot Productions on bringing these contents delivered to you for the voters and for everyone, feel free to head to our Give a Little page and make a donation there. Use our Eventbrite, or was it Koha without admission option, or do a direct credit deposit into our Kiwibank bank account. Details available on itsintheballot.nz and under the donation section. Also, if was it Laura or Nick, whichever one wants to do it, you can also buy some of our merchandise that we sell on Print Mighty, who's a printer in the Kapiti Coast, who has the 2025 themed It's in the Ballot shirts, if you'd like to sit there and buy one of those to help support our campaign and have a bit of a memorabilia to remember what's happened. And also today, volunteer labour contributed into it. Both myself and Nick have contributed about 10 hours worth of volunteer labour in order to make this happen. That would be on top of my 4 hours of work today at my day job. And behind the scenes, we've also had Stacey has contributed about 6 hours in back-end production work, and I think Laura has contributed something similar along the lines as well for making these shows work. So thank you for the viewers for watching. Thank you to the candidates for participating. It's not easy to jump in front of a camera and being part of the It's in the Ballot experience, but thank you so much for doing it, and thank you to our audience members for braving this way here in I'd say a bit colder than desired hall. I do admit it's a lovely, lovely venue, but from what I've seen on Facebook, I believe there's snow on the Wainuiamata Hill. So, and we've heard it bucket down, and we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the Foxton Community Board. Have a good evening.